Hey, what's up, everybody? Story time. So, my daughter was born on Friday. Now, before we went into labor and did all of that, we got to do all the paperwork, no different than back home in the States. Let them know what my daughter's name is going to be, this, that, and the other. Everything's cool. After my daughter is born, the hospital starts coming in the room, bringing us papers, things we need to sign. And next thing I know, I'm being told that what is considered to be like the local city hall of the province that you're in here is called the Umphur. I'm being told by the hospital that the Umphur said I cannot give my daughter the middle name that I have given her. Now, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, what you mean can't? I'm her father. She is her mother. These are the names that we have chosen to provide to her and to give to her and bestow upon my daughter for good reason. What do you mean can't? Who are you to tell me what I can and cannot do? Now, keep in mind, I understand that I'm in Thailand and things are different. And in the Thai culture, the way it goes is usually when you give a name to your child, the name is supposed to mean something. In a lot of cases, sometimes they will merge the last names by default to where you give the child the first name and then the mother's last name is usually the last name that is kept, and then the father's last name is the middle name, or vice versa. They do that sort of stuff. Now, for those of us that are in the States, I named my daughter Julie Smith Rodriguez. I'm just making up something right now, and that's essentially her name. Ain't no questions about it. It's just Julie Smith Rodriguez. They write it down on the paper, boom, that's her name. But in this case, they start telling me I can't, and now I'm starting to get a little upset. So I'm talking back and forth with the lady at the hospital. I'm using Google Translate because at this point I don't want my wife translating anymore because I'm starting to get mad, and I'm talking pretty quick and it makes it a little bit difficult for her to translate for me. So I start translating on my own. My wife will translate what the lady at the hospital says, and then I will translate what I say to her using Google Translate. Fine. In the end, we end up having to go down to the Umphur. So fast forward, we go to the Umphur today. And I kid you not, I don't know who this lady was that we had to deal with when we first got there. But when I tell you, I was this close to making a scene. She had me so mad. I kid you not. This is what she did. She was sitting there and she had papers in her hand. Like, this is the paperwork and stuff that we got from the hospital. And, she had us write down and spell the name out. And she's like, throw the papers on the table and just plops her big tail back into the chair. And she got that look on her face, and she's like, and she says it in Thai, but she says it to me. But I don't have to understand what she said to understand what she said. People can say a lot with their body language and their facial expressions and things like that. And of course, my wife translated. But what she said to me was, why do you want to give her this name? Now, normally, if I was in the US, first off, this wouldn't happen. But if something like this would have happened in the US, all of you know I would have tore her a new one. But like I said, I am a very respectful, and I try to keep things very professional and cool, calm, and collected. But I was starting to get hot. I was starting to get real hot, and I'm very glad that my wife took control of the situation and spoke on my behalf without me having to speak on my own behalf, like when I was in the hospital, because I would have said all sorts of stuff because I was getting mad. Because my whole thing is, we're her parents. We've chosen her name. Her name does have meaning. It's not my fault that you don't understand what the meaning of her name is. That's your problem, not mine. Now, I would have been more receptive if she had said to me, what does her name mean? Because that doesn't mean anything in Thai to us. We don't know what this means. I would have been more receptive to actually having a conversation and talking about what her name actually means. And her middle name actually means like joy, brightness, coming into like the brightness or the enlightenment, or what is the words I'm looking for? Light in the dark. Look at it that way, you know, like dark times, and then, you know, there's a light in the dark, a new chapter, all sorts of things. There's a lot of different meanings behind her middle name, and it was really important to me to give her that middle name, because with her having that name, I will also, as a nickname, call her Jubilee. For you comic fans out there, you know what I'm talking about. But that wasn't the only reason behind it. So I was getting real heated, but I'm really glad that my wife took over the situation, and ultimately everything was all said and done. We ended up getting some papers from them. Ultimately, what they had to do was they had to figure out how to write her name in Thai so it is pronounced the way that her name is actually written in English. Cool, they did that. They wrote it on the paper. We had to go back to the hospital. The hospital generated new paperwork with the new writing in Thai, gave it back to us. We went back to the Umphur, gave them the paperwork, and they got everything straightened out. We got the birth certificate. Cool, I got everything processed. Now all my paternity stuff from, you know, my work, that's all done, and I ain't gotta worry about that anymore. But when I tell you I was getting mad, I was getting heated. So when that chick threw the paperwork on the table and was talking like that, and then eventually got up and walked away. Matter of fact, before she even walked away, when she did that, I immediately got pissed, and I was already in my phone. Slammed my phone on the table, turned it around, turned the volume up, boom, hit play. Then when I did that, that's when my wife took over. Was like, I already know where this is going. So lady gets up, walks off, and I look at my wife and I'm like, yo, I'm telling you right now, I'm keeping my cool. But inside, I'm this close. I'm this close. I really don't want to show my ass off in this place. But yeah, that was a very interesting experience. I did not know that the Umphur could literally say you can't. Now, granted, obviously, I don't know if it's that this particular Umphur in the district that we are in, when we got there, I immediately knew when we walked in the door, before we first even talked to this lady, I knew why they would be like that. Because you look at the Umphur, and it was a very old style building, which looked like they probably also have a very old style of thinking. Like if we had gone to the one in Thapra instead of Bangkok, we probably wouldn't have had any issues. Thapra would have just processed all the paperwork just fine. You know, I've been in the Thapra Umphur, and it is a newer building. Things do seem a little bit more modernized. The staff seems a bit younger, and the staff at the Bangkok district seems to be a lot older, which usually also means older thinking. You know how that sort of stuff goes. I mean, we got the same problems back in the States, where, you know, most of our leaders are extremely old, so they still have extremely old ways of thinking and just refuse to budge, even though the times are different and really calls for new ways of thinking and doing things differently. But yeah, everything's done. We got everything. We're good now. But for those of you who may end up having a significant other from Thailand, if you have your children here, I'm just letting you know that is a possibility that you might run into that issue. But anyways, I hope everybody's safe. I'll catch up with y'all later. Peace.